Ever since the iPhone X was launched, it's divided the world into two camps. People who hate the notch and people who appreciate it. As it always is with technology, features found on expensive units eventually trickle down to cheaper devices. Take this Vivo V9 for example, which has a staggering bezel-less design for just 23,000 rupees. Hey, what's up guys, AJ here with EOTO Tech and let's review the Vivo V9. Historically, Vivo has produced some solid mid-range devices, but seemingly their focus was on making selfie camera specialists. However, the Vivo V9 aims at being an all-rounder. Turning the phone on for the first time, I was already excited by what the display was turning out to be. This is a 6.3-inch panel with a resolution of 2080 by 1080. Relax, this isn't a giant display. In fact, this takes up similar footprint as what a phone with a 5.5-inch display would. The colors were fairly vibrant and accurate, and bright enough for most situations. I haven't been a hater of the notch, and if you use apps that take advantage of the entire screen canvas, you'll understand why this is a practical solution. The notification icons and time reside on either side of the display, leaving the entire actual canvas for content. Here's a non-scientific comparison using Instagram to show how such a display helps. Though it needs to be mentioned that not all apps play well with this extra tall 19:9 display. A perfect example of this being Instagram Stories, where the screen gets stretched to fill the horizontal expanse of the display, cutting out the sides. Weirdly, even the YouTube app's pinch to zoom feature is not yet supported. As I mentioned, that ergonomic feel of the phone is boosted by the slim profile and the curved back. It is slightly slippery but not in a risky way. And if you'd like to be safe, there's an included jelly case in the box for extra protection and grip. Tiny bezels on the front mean that the fingerprint scanner has to move to the back. It works perfectly with spot-on accuracy and speed. And if you'd like, you can also use Face Unlock, which was equally reliable. If you thought that the familiarities with the iPhone X ended at the display and the familiar camera placement, I have bad news for you. The software skin also looks very inspired by iOS. I'm not complaining as they have added cool features to make it better. Yeah, it does not have an app drawer, but I got used to it pretty quickly. Remember, you can always change the launcher, so I'm not going to hold Vivo accountable here. The control panel comes up with a swipe from the bottom, which makes a lot of sense for such a tall phone. My favorite feature was the ability to use navigation gestures instead of soft keys. Apart from saving screen real estate, it also made the UX very enjoyable, very well implemented. If you haven't noticed yet, this phone runs a skin version of Android 8.1 called FunTouchOS. It is a heavy skin but doesn't seem to affect the battery life or performance. That great battery life can be attributed to the 3260 mAh battery inside. The standby battery life was exceptional. The great battery life can be attributed to the 3260 mAh battery inside. The standby time was exceptional, barely dropping a couple percentage overnight. In my regular usage, this phone would last me for more than a day, with a screen on time of more than 5 hours. That is one of the highest battery backups I've experienced recently. There is no mention of fast charging, and the phone takes about 2 hours to charge completely. The power delivery happens via this aging micro USB port. The speaker was adequately loud, and the output via the earphones was very clear and warm. You get a pair of earbuds in the box as well. Under the hood, you get the Snapdragon 626 with 4 gigs of RAM. This is an octa-core mid-range chipset, and the performance was up to the mark. The phone never slowed down in normal day-to-day use, and even gaming was great. Here's some footage of me playing Real Racing 3. I couldn't perceive any frame rate drops. RAM management was fine too, even with heavy games running in the background. The phone has a triple card slot, meaning that you can have an SD card up to 256GB and 2 SIM cards. There's a dual 16 megapixel plus 5 megapixel camera combo on the back. The photos shot were pretty detailed in adequate lighting. The dynamic range should have been a little higher though, and macro shots lacked clarity. Outdoors, the camera performance was way better. Colors looked punchy and not fake. Panorama stitching was amazing. The front camera is a 24 megapixel sensor and a rather wide field of view, more than sufficient for my usage. Details were high and with slight adjustments you can get great selfies. Portrait mode performance on both the front and the rear camera was amazing, comparable to flagships I would say. There's a beauty mode which will really mess up your facial hair. Group selfies are basically a panorama for the front camera. There's a professional mode too, but it kept changing the exposure compensation on its own, taking the control away from me. You get AR stickers too if Snapchat wasn't enough for you. There's also an option called Ultra HD which stitches together multiple pictures to make a combined giant 64 megapixel photo, adding a lot more detail. Overall, this camera will deliver in most situations. So, wrapping things up, the Vivo V9 is a solid offering under 25,000 rupees. I couldn't spot any major corners being cut to achieve that price tag, and hence the Vivo V9 is a phone that we recommend. I think I'm going to miss using this phone a lot once I move to some other device. Hit the first link in the description below to get your Vivo V9. If you found this video useful, give this video a big thumbs up. While you are there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.